right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Solid Waste Workshop. If you'll stand with me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Chairman Bryant, Vice Chairman Zalek,
Here.
Commissioner Moore, Commissioner McLean,
Here.
Commissioner Arnett.
Here.
Chairman Bryant regrets that she couldn't be with us this afternoon, but Mike, you want to go ahead and start the presentation?
Renovations that may be needed to the transfer station. And what I'd like to do is be able to have all that together so that by the end of September, we're ready to go out with our RFP for the operation of those facilities as well as the actual transferring of the waste down to the Heart of Florida landfill. With that, to start with the transfer station, my biggest concern with the transfer station is the condition of the tip floor. It's certainly adequate today as we're talking. What I don't know is how much wear has taken place on that tip floor since we started operating it back in 2005. We operated it for about 6 years before we terminated the use of it, and since that time we've been utilizing it as a citizens convenience center. It gets our hand unload folks off the landfill, makes it a little more convenient and safer for them to operate inside that transfer station. What I would like to do is still move forward with an engineering review. Primarily, it's a survey review of that tip floor so that we can compare how much wear has taken place versus the as-built survey that was taken of that floor. What I would like to do is establish where we are with that floor so that when we go out for a request for proposal, our prospective contractor is going to know this is where we are with the floor. They'll have some conception of how much life is left in that floor, but at the same time, we're going to spell out to them how we expect that floor to be returned to us, in what condition and at what elevation and so forth. That would be something negotiated within the proposal so that the transfer station is going to be our future. We've got roughly 20 years of disposal life and capacity up at the Heart of Florida landfill, so we need a transfer station that's not only going to service during that time period, but beyond. The other issue with the transfer station is scales. The old scales that we had down in the tunnel are 13 some odd years old. Primarily, rust has moved into them, but we've been looking closely at scaling systems that are built right into the transfer trucks. And with that type of a system, the operator up on the tip floor of the transfer station will have a digital readout so they can register what kind of weight they have in their trucks before they send them out. But in talking to our scale program provider, they said that it is feasible to have communication with that particular type of system. What I'm concerned about is being able to track the weight that's going out of our landfill facility, and then being able to have a cross accounting, if you will, with when it gets received at the Heart of Florida landfill, so that we can have some level of control of what's coming out of our facility and what's being received at the Heart of Florida landfill. I'm envisioning if we have a private contractor, we're going to have our waste being waste that's coming from our recycling collection facilities through our solid waste assessment, but then also any commercial waste that comes across our scale that pays our posted tipping fee. But when we talk to other commercial operators that will be proposing on the use of that transfer station, they've indicated that there would be an interest in them recruiting their own customers, utilizing our transfer station, but then disposing in the Heart of Florida. My concern is we don't want to utilize our disposal capacity in the Heart of Florida for that. They would have a separate contract. It gets even more important in being able to track the tonnage, so we know the tonnage coming in versus the tonnage going out, and then the accounting of that, of who's paying for what. Obviously, part of our proposal on the transfer station is waste like that that's coming through our facility. I think it's reasonable to ask our contractor that we expect some type of a host fee or a convenience fee for utilizing the transfer station. That'll help us going into the future to ensure that we have reserves to perform whatever type of improvements and renovations that may be needed with that facility. What I'm looking for is a consensus that this is a good approach for moving forward with securing an engineering study to cover these two main factors on the transfer station.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Commissioners, on the transfer station, the tipping floor and the scaling system, I guess you're going to look at a couple possibilities in regards to scaling, right?
Yes, and we may be somewhat limited because we've already selected our scale program. So we want something that's going to be compatible. I don't want to step outside that and only incur additional costs for a new scale program when we've got a program that's perhaps only 3 years old. But our current scale provider is telling me that there are systems out there that are compatible. So I feel comfortable that there's pre-manufactured systems that can work for us.
Okay. Any questions, Commissioner?
And what we're still shooting for, timeline-wise, we're still shooting for having an RFP for the operation of the transfer station as well as the transferring of waste out of our facility to the heart of Florida, so that come October this year, we're going to have that out for proposals. Hopefully before the end of the year, we'd get it back in, have our evaluations, and we can make our recommendations back to the board.
All right. Mike has consensus to follow through with those two on the transfer station then. That's fine.
Thank you, sir.
And the convenience center?
Yes, sir. Moving on to the Citizens Convenience Center. The construction of that convenience center is going to be strategically on our timeline, because that needs to be constructed before anything really happens on the transfer station. We can certainly conduct our engineering evaluation, the survey work on that tip floor without interfering with the current operation as a citizens drop-off. But the Citizens Convenience Center, we'd like to have that constructed so that we can get people out of that transfer station, and the transfer station then would be available for a contractor to make sure that they can do whatever they need to do to ensure their smooth and convenient operation when they take over the actual transferring of the material. So with that, we had originally looked at 3 different locations, but I want to move forward the one option that we feel is probably the most viable, and that's on your map. If you look at on the legend, item P, which is the tire collection pad, that particular site we feel will give us the greatest advantage as far as traffic flow for stacking ability. Also, we have a start. We've got a pretty substantial concrete pad that we can use to start that operation of that facility. But there are some issues and some improvements that would be needed. There would be potentially some geotechnical investigation of that one particular site instead of looking at multiple sites. Certainly we'll be looking at the traffic flow. What I want to try and get away from is there's a major intersection coming off the scales where traffic that'll be coming off the scales will come into, as well as traffic going back towards the scale. So we want to look closely at that. Now, the transfer trucks, when they're leaving our transfer station facility, we'll still have to go through that intersection, but I'd like to look at perhaps the transfer trucks sliding slightly to the south of that, where they just hit the bypass road, because there won't be a need for them to actually go across the scale. We'll be able to capture the scaling data right there at the transfer station and communicate that to the scale accounting system right from the transfer station. With the Citizens Convenience Center, we're getting 2 types of waste primarily. Much smaller quantity of Class 1 waste, and the larger quantity being Class 3 waste. One of the primary issues that we were looking at is the Florida Department of Environmental Protection told us that if you are handling Class 1 waste at that facility, their expectation is to have it roofed and have some type of leachate collection operation with that. Those are significant cost factors, and we look, how can we eliminate that? Coming back and just looking at our recycling collection facilities where we collect Class 1 waste in contained garbage compactors, we think that's probably the most viable approach. Is we don't get a lot of Class 1 waste, but as soon as you mix some Class 1 waste with the Class 3, it now becomes considered all Class 1 waste. So it is going to be a bit of a challenge for the operation of that facility to educate the customers that come on board to put their Class 1 waste into a garbage compactor that will be set up on site. And then we'll have a couple of transfer trailers also set up that'll be able to receive the Class 3 waste, thereby not handling it twice. It'll go immediately into a transfer trailer. Again, that trailer will be equipped with a scaling system so we could still pick that up as that trailer routes out, and save some of the operational cost of not handling waste twice. Class 1 waste in the compactor would be forced to come back up on the tip floor and be tipped and then loaded into a waiting transfer trailer. This facility, because of the addition of some potential new driveway approaches and the potential expansion of the pad itself to accommodate the loading areas, will have an impact on our stormwater, so we're going to have our engineers take a look at that, and at a minimum, they're going to have to convince the DEP that there's no impact or there's very little impact to our existing stormwater. We have additional capacity in our main stormwater pond. How much capacity we have enough to accommodate this construction, that still remains to be seen, and we need to have that vetted out so that we know ahead of time. Any way we go, DEP is going to require that we have a stormwater permit process with that. With this new facility, we are going to need some utilities there. I'm going to need some electricity, not only for the operation of the compactor unit, but since we open at 7 in the morning and close at 5 in the evening, and you get into the winter months, we need overhead lighting first thing in the morning, and sometimes even into the evening as we clean up and prepare the area for the evening. So overhead lighting, I think, is one of those imperative things that we have at that facility, and some water. Right now, the water line stops at the transfer station. We propose moving the water line farther north so that we would have water at this site, not only for potential washdowns, but also for firefighting capability, since you're going to have waste accumulated in a compactor unit, as well as waiting transfer trailers. We still have an issue looking at how we're going to manage some of our special waste. That's something that we haven't really come to terms with, but it needs to be thought through and then also worked into our proposal as we move down the road, the RFP. And how are we going to handle our animals, sludge, asbestos, and then contaminated soils. Typically now that material comes into us, we go through a tracking process and we bury it in the landfill. But in the future, when we're transferring, we have to manage it a little differently. And I suspect that we'll probably build that into our transfer proposal and see what we get back from our contractors, or pulling that out separately and bid out those items independently to handle down the road. You know, the one key ingredient is the Heart of Florida will accept asbestos waste. Maybe we don't need to be involved in that at all. That any contractor performing that type of work in Marion County, we would help them with their paperwork requirement for acceptance of that waste at the Heart of Florida, but that contractor would be on their own to transport it down there, make the arrangements with the Heart of Florida, and pay whatever fees are applicable to that. So that material would not be going against our built-in capacity at that particular landfill. Obviously, before we move forward with this, I can feel like, as we prepare our request for proposal, I want to share that with you all. It may, if it generates a significant number of questions, we may require another workshop to go back over some of those issues and see if we can't make sure that it's ready to go out for bid come October. I don't have all those answers right now, but I will certainly have those answers by the first part of September, when we feel like we're going to have a draft proposal for you to start your review process. Building permits for this new Citizens Convenience Facility. We have our own local building code. We're going to have a stormwater permit associated with it that will be going through a DEP. Since it is a waste management facility, it will require DEP to issue a waste management permit. And there's still a question, at least in my mind, I'm asking the question, do we need a special use permit? Looking back in the history, when we asked for a special use permit for our transfer station, we restricted that area to just the 10 acres of the transfer station, and it did not include the area going north where the tire pad was and the scrap metal and appliance pads were. So that may open the door. I'll get with growth management, and we'll see if that's still a requirement of a special use permit for these improvements that are planned. And then this engineering evaluation that we're going to be putting out, their end product will be a design that's prepared to be put out for bid along with the RFP associated with the citizens drop-off. I'm thinking that we would break apart the two RFPs, one for the transfer station and the actual transferring of waste, and one for the operation of the Citizens Convenience Center and the construction of that Citizens Convenience Center. I think trying to get them intermixed, you may find that we have contractors that maybe all they want is that transfer station and perform the transferring and not interested in the convenience center. So if they're not interested, no bid. So if we have two separate bids covering that, I think we'll be ahead of the game, and we can attract the contractors. If they want both, they'll bid on both. Here again, our hope is that we would meet that timeline of October. We'd be putting that RFP out for processing and see what kind of contractors are interested in that. With that, I'm questions?
Commissioner
I had a
Arnett.
question. On the transfer station, would that vendor transport the trailers from the convenience?
Yes, sir. That would be included in their RFP proposal, because it would, I wouldn't want to introduce a second contractor that owned transfer trailers and the confusion involved that. I think it would be smoother and easier for us if we just had one contractor that handled all of our transferring of waste and owned and operated those transfer trailers. But he or she would be making it available for our convenience center, as well as whatever transfer trailers would be required to operate the transfer station.
Commissioner Moore.
Just a quick question, actually, to my fellow commissioners about something that a constituent brought up that I thought was actually a decent idea, because we're looking at our future waste, and it's kind of related to solid waste, but with our landfill down there, they were suggesting that we actually purchase and take over ACMS, take over Heart of Florida. I was going to first see if there's any appetite on the board for even exploring that opportunity. Of course, it would have to be a win-win for both us and for, it had to be a win for our citizens, but is there any appetite to look along those lines, or?
I guess that's what I was talking about whenever
I think Monier's going to explore all
Okay.
those options.
yeah.
When we talked about
I mean,
it
I
last
think
time.
that's what I was talking about when I said maybe we should look at trying to partner back up again with some of the counties surrounding this. I mean, I think that
Okay, with
that would
that-
certainly be
with
an
it,
option
yeah.
in that for me. So,
Because with like the transfer station, when we're talking about doing an RFP, if we actually took over the thing, would we want to combine the two into one RFP? Or would we want to keep them separate?
Well, that's not an RFP.
I mean, one to run the facility, one to,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, to include.
One to do,
I guess I was gonna, I guess for me, Mike, think there will be a lot of people that wanna bid on the transfer station without taking the other
Right.
responsibility. So I don't
Yeah.
know if,
No, my thought process as well is, if they're gonna bid on that, then bid on it from there, and all the personnel through the process would, would be a contractor. 'Cause it's not worth you having a couple people on site here.
No.
To watch people yard waste, or to watch them as citizens, or watch them dump tires. I mean, a contractor can run that facility from the scale back, or including the scale. So,
and are we're including all the recycling centers?
No, sir, that
No.
wasn't discussed.
I wanna include all the recycling centers.
in one bid,
Yeah,
Oh.
that's fine.
why would we manage that?
We don't have to.
I mean.
I thought those would be two separate bids, but.
For, citizen,
I think it would be.
Look, I mean, it seems to me that there's sweet parts of this that somebody's gonna want, and there's other parts that they're not gonna want, and I think for us to, for me personally,
Yeah,
I think
but-
if we combine it,
Well, it doesn't hurt to Commissioner, you can combine it and put it out there and find out.
that's what, I guess
Exactly.
that's what I was thinking, I
I
guess,
mean,
is,
It's a part of it they can bid on, a part of it they don't have to bid on, but I would guess.
Do it as an alternative.
Or let me ask this
Well,
question,
I don't
let me
think
ask
that's what
this
you wanna do.
let me ask this question. Or would we continue to, man the boxes, but not haul them? Am I making sense? In other words, if all the other recycling centers were, so we keep all those. Yeah, I don't know about that.
Maybe back to your first one.
Oh, just bid the whole thing out then.
Yeah.
The entire operation.
Can
That's the
I
best way to
sug-
do it.
Well, it's a whole different operation collecting from the recycling center. I think if we bid the transfer station,
Yeah,
Right,
but I bet,
separate.
I bet
what goes with, you can do another bid for separate for the collection, for the recycling
Station one
centers,
and the other separate.
if that's the route you wanna go.
Or, may I make a suggestion?
Maybe.
If we did one RFP, it can have multiple components, so that one contractor that has interest in operating the transfer station, convenience center, and transferring the waste can bid on that. And then there may be another group or organization that has more expertise, or has the expertise and equipment to operate the roll-off trucks to service the recycling collection centers. So it's two separate components within the proposal, and we're not left with trying to pull the component parts apart to compare it to the next proposal. And the proposal would have multiple parts to it. It would still get to what you're asking for, which would be an RFP to cover the entire operation. I have a little bit of a concern when we talk about having an outside control of our scale house. That's our primary data collection point for waste coming in, waste coming out, where we generate our invoices from. We had talked about this some years ago when we were putting out for bid the transfer station, and it was awarded to Waste Management. The concern is our due diligence to control what's happening at our scale house. That's our primary control point, is keeping track of that waste coming in, and who gets billed for it, or what goes against our existing capacity, and what's going out.
Mike, and I agree, you're absolutely correct about that. I don't disagree with that. I think what I'm thinking about is, I don't see us being involved in solid waste beyond making sure we keep track of what's going
Right.
in and out.
Okay.
Right.
For me personally.
Right.
I don't know if it's the
Fine.
right thing, but I'm just saying, for me personally, it would be to turn over the entire operation to the private sector.
Provided they can do it more efficiently,
Right.
of course.
They'll have a hard time, I think, being as efficient as Mike's been, but, they can get there. I'm just saying, and certainly the green boxes are a feature-rich, that we offer our citizens, and I don't know, again, I don't think I'm gonna do away with that. I'm just saying it's, I guess I was thinking more just from a perspective of, do we just put it all out there, let somebody bid on the entire operation, so to speak, management of it, or, whatever, and then as it relates to the tipping floor and, maybe future capital improvements and all that, it seems like to me that's maybe something that, those are negotiating points as to, it relates to a contract.
I agree about that.
Host fee, that's part of a negotiation that you would talk about. In other words, if we're gonna make capital improvements, our host fee might be $3. If they're gonna make capital improvements, our host fee might be $1, those are all negotiating points, I think, after that, so. But, that's what I thought, that's what I thought we were gonna try to do, so. Mike, the only other, well, I'm getting down into the weeds, but, so, we can't can we get from the transfer station straight to, what road is that comes into the landfill right there?
Well, it's 66th Street and
Yeah.
then ties into Baseline.
Yeah, can we get straight from the transfer station to 66th Street?
Yes, we can.
Gotta go around the scale house either way, though.
No.
But there
If the
is a
truck- if the trucks
bypass
run
road
by themselves.
already in place.
But the bypass road still comes down and intersects at some
here.
point. Yeah, I see it. It still intersects with vehicular traffic that would be coming in and out.
That's the one area that we were looking at that,
It's gonna bring us back a traffic flow analysis
That's
anyway,
what I'm
right?
saying. I'm getting
yeah,
into the weeds, I'm
to-
sorry.
to circle
I'm- I'm
away
whole thing.
and
I'm
stay
in the
away
weeds,
from
I'm
that
sorry.
intersection.
That's what I said. It's-
and that way you're not gonna interfere with any of the inbound traffic that's coming in delivering waste.
I think that's that's probably the benefit of being able to have the wireless scaling in the trucks.
Right.
That as they go by,
Agreed,
you
agreed.
can possibly do that. And then, the only other thing, Mike, that I thought we probably do need to look at, Commissioners, I don't know if you want to or not, but obviously, we're going to look at this tire pad as the pad. I'm guessing that you'd only need to do, that thing's been there a long time. You'd only need to do geotechnical to hold the load of whatever the increased load would be on the concrete and cement and all those kind of things, right?
Well, or just off the pad where we would be doing some excavating and then new concrete work
Right.
to lower the transfer trailers for receiving waste.
Okay. Also, we need to pick another spot for
Yes, sir.
the future tire
Right.
drop off or whatever you're gonna do.
We're looking at the next pad north, which is for our scrap metal and appliances,
Uh-huh.
of potentially adding on to the north side of that to add some additional square footage that we would need for waste tire storage.
Okay. Are you gonna go ahead and look at both of you're gonna look at that at the same time as this, right?
Yes, sir. Well, my thought is if we're giving up the tire collection pad, I still need a site for that collection.
Right.
And we would prefer to have it collected on concrete, and that would be built into that particular construction site, is to have the tire pad looked at and constructed at the same time the Citizens Convenience Center was constructed.
So the sites we looked at before, though, weren't necessarily transferred, the citizens dumping into transfer trailers. They were typically,
Well, it's.
dumpsters, so.
They were dumpsters. My concern there, sir, is we're gonna be double handling the waste. That waste would have to go back up on the tip floor and then be managed and loaded into transfer trailers. Whereas, for instance, at Seminole County, in their Citizens Convenience Center, they were unloading directly into waiting transfer trailers.
So how are you gonna pack the trailer out?
Well, it would be up to the operators to come back to that thing, and they would still have that same issue. If they got anything sticking up above to prevent them from tarping their loads or to reach their load, perhaps they could come with their loader with the compaction tool and accomplish that.
Maybe.
Yes, sir,
Not
that's
sure they're gonna wanna-
perhaps a
I
stumbling
don't know,
block.
but I'm not sure that they're gonna want necessarily just run that payloader on and off the transfer station.
Well, perhaps
I'm not
not,
sure.
but.
I mean,
but-
we
but
could find out.
if the loader is, and it has a quick connect for the tamping device that we saw demonstrated over
Yeah.
at Volusia County. We also have a loader that's operating down in the yard waste. It would probably make more sense for the yard waste loader to come up and perform this function on the citizens drop-off. That's my conceptual look of looking at how could we, or how could a contractor manage this particular facility and be as efficient and as effective as possible? Because I think they want to keep that loader in the tipping floor of that transfer station operating to maximize load out of transfer trailers.
Yeah. Well, my only concern with that is, I mean, they got roll-off trucks coming in and out all day long, because they, you know, from all the convenience centers. I don't know that it's that hard on that guy just to, hey, when you come in, you know, take the box up there from the other convenience center.
No, it's
You know,
not,
and
and
so that's
obviously,
my
we
con-
see that happening.
And then you gotta take a transfer trailer that's got scales and everything else in it and drop it and leave those kind of half a day, I don't know how long it's gonna take them to fill those. 100 yarders.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah, and.
Are they, well, is
if
that
we-
transfer trailer a sealed unit? Can we just throw garbage in it then? Or no?
Somewhat sealed, but the top is open, so you're subject to rainfall. And if you're loading in Class 1 waste, we're under a covered area within the transfer station when they get loaded. Out at the Citizens Convenient, we're not talking about a roof-over facility.
Okay.
And sir, probably the most efficient is I feel comfortable that any potential operator is gonna look at it and say, well, if I don't need 2 trailers waiting there, I'm just gonna leave 1, obviously. But there'll be times when we know that we hit our peak seasons where it's probably gonna be mandatory for them to have the second trailer. The burden, of course, we would spell it out in the RFP that it's up to you to manage the waste loads coming in, and we will certainly supply, any contractor will be part of the proposal of what our waste history has been, so that they can see the volumes of waste that are coming in, that they need to anticipate managing those volumes.
Okay.
But leaving things open, let the contractor decide what the better route for managing that material.
On the dumping directly into the truck, that would just cut down the amount of yards they could haul at one time. Is that what would, I mean, basically, you know what would happen?
Without
So which would
compression.
would end up costing the citizens more money. I mean, you know, yeah, the tighter we can
Well,
get
you
it
had to
packed in.
you had to pack it out. You
Because
had
of
to use a
trucking, I'm saying
machine.
because of the trucking, you know, because of the trucking
Yeah.
cost.
I don't know. I'm just not sure.
I'm not, well, I guess what I'm saying is I think we need to, I think there needs to be some.
I mean, can we look at, you know, from that perspective, maybe we just need to look at both of them then. You know, look at this citizens drop-off with, you know, dumpsters. It can't cost us that much more to look at it with dumpsters or tractor trailers.
True.
This way we can make that available for
True.
whichever way the private sector wants to do it. Maybe when we get.
I bring back to you, just caution you that our own local building codes put requirements on us as far as what the height of a curb or a wall
Uh-huh.
or a fence, so that you eliminate the trip and fall potential of people falling in, whether it's falling into a transfer trailer.
I'd rather fall into a dumpster than a transfer trailer. I mean, if I'm gonna fall.
Yeah, I'd rather not
Either
fall
way,
into the other.
we
Sucks,
have
but-
an issue with meeting the building code to satisfy that.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter whether you have a transfer trailer there or a dumpster there.
That's right, sir.
All right. Any other questions, commissioners? All right.
Can I just get one question so it's clear for me then? The RFP that we're gonna be putting out then, in October, is all encompassing. One RFP, all functions, including the operation of the recycling centers, and we're not talking about the elimination of any of the existing services that are currently offered at the recycling centers?
That's correct, including special waste. Put it all in there.
Okay.
Everything from the scales on, including all the recycling centers.
And I mean, I think obviously at some point in August or something, we'd have another workshop, I guess, or whatever.
That would
Well,
make,
we could
that would
probably
make
have another
sense.
workshop
Yes,
before
sir.
we go out.
Before
Before
it
we
gets
do
ready to go
whatever.
out.
As we.
Or at some, whatever point, Mike, you need some
Yeah,
decisions.
as we get to a point where we've got a draft and then we can give it to you and let you guys look at it for a week, and then have a workshop to make any adjustments and changes that may be needed at that point in time before we go out.
Yeah, because we already have the, I mean, the contract with the wood, you know, the contractor could then either negotiate that, or we could keep the contract with the wood folks, and the contractor would just be responsible for then, you know, pushing up the pile and making sure there's not a contaminated debris for when the guy that does the wood chipping and all that comes in. That material, do we get, how do we use that material, Mike? Or do we get paid for any of that? Or does it,
No, sir.
None of
it. Get rid of it.
It's a pure cost factor. They're struggling right now with the shutdown of the
Of the-
Gainesville bio plant.
yeah,
So we've lost a huge market there for a lot of our wood
Okay.
waste. So right now, it's paying to get rid of that material.
all right. So Commissioners, we got a couple guys out here.
Sure.
I would like, before we move, because I really don't know about the do any of you guys that are in the business have any particular, as we go to design, in regards to the transfer trailer versus dumpsters? Anybody offer us any insight? All right, no.
What about Sam?
What's that?
Sam? Sam?
Yeah, Sam, come on. Come on down.
They tell me you've been around the solid waste business for a couple of years now.
One or two. What would you like to know?
With just the discussion, can you enlighten us a little more on the transfer trailers versus dumpsters on the convenience center?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head, Commissioner Zalek. Whether you have a dumpster or a transfer trailer, you still need that wall. And both of them work. I guess if you go back 10, 15 years, you didn't need a wall. And there's still some places that operate without it. But there are a lot of people who fall in and hurt themselves, so
Right.
it's a good idea to have that wall. I don't know exactly how Seminole County handles overage from the side. They have, if you leave their citizens area, they do have a place where they tarp, and they probably handle the waste that's outside of the truck there. But there's no tamping involved. It's, you get it and you go. I understand and I agree.
How far are they hauling, Sam? Do you know? I mean.
20 miles.
20 miles. So we're,
It's not that different.
are we 40 from the transfer station? Are we 40 from
Who's
the
hauling?
landfill? Are we, I'm saying, how far is it from our transfer station to ACMS?
Oh, I thought it was like 38 miles or
that's
39
what I was
miles or
asking.
something like that.
I think the clerk probably needs Sam to put his full name on the record.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Sam Levin. I live in Maitland, Florida. I'm president of S2L Incorporated.
Commissioner, I guess
Yes.
what my point, I guess my point about, if you're not compacting what's going into a 100-yard truck, your costs are it's gonna drive your cost up a little bit. I don't know how much. I'm just saying, you understand what I'm saying? In other words, obviously if you can compact it,
Give them more.
yeah, you'd get more yardage in there. But, you know, if you're just, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, so the question is, does it cost you more to have a guy go down there and pick it up and bring it up to the transfer station and put it in a regular trailer and double handle it, like
Yeah.
Mike said, or
Yeah,
not?
yeah.
And there's another issue in both Seminole County and in Pinellas County. The citizens are not loading into the trailers. The citizens are unloading onto a floor,
Mhm.
and then a Bobcat is loading into the trailers.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
there's a person actually operating those facilities.
Okay, but that's not what we're
Yeah.
designing, right?
That depends on what you want.
Okay, that's not what we want.
If
We
you're
want
looking
them to be able
for,
to pull up and dump and throw their stuff into the trailer. We don't wanna have to man that too, like a mini transfer.
that's exactly what I was talking about, and that's how it's done for in Seminole County and in
Is it?
Pinellas County.
Okay. Yeah, I think the one we looked at was, Mike, was that Volusia County? That was the 30, they had 30-yard dumpsters there or something like that?
Yes, that was Volusia County.
Okay,
And they had one staff person on site to act as a spotter for the loading of the Class 3, but then also he operated the household hazardous waste collection facility, which was right next to it as
which
well.
was right next to it, okay. Well, from a design standpoint, Sam, will you be able to get the transfer trailer, I mean, close enough that it's not gonna, I mean,
Have debris all falling down the side.
right. I would imagine that's not an issue, right?
You still get some spillage.
Okay.
And you need to get in there and sweep every now and then.
Okay,
That's just part of the operation.
that's fine. Okay. All right. Commissioners, any other, do you have a preference of which way you want to go then? I guess we need to make a decision.
Come on,
Compactor or load into the trailer?
Yeah, you're either gonna load in a trailer or load in a dumpster. I mean,
You know,
need to pick one.
I don't know what the number,
Whichever's cheaper.
you know, yeah, I don't know what the number, I mean, I guess for me, I'm just saying how
It's
much.
probably cheaper to build one for dumpsters than it is for you have to go down further, right? More concrete for transfer trailers.
Well,
Just the height, right?
built
There's a
up.
change in grade, but you have an advantage of having groundwater that's pretty far down compared to other places in Florida, so you can build an actual tunnel. And the cost wouldn't be much different for either one of them.
So when you're looking at it, are you gonna bring the ground grade down? Is that, you're looking that way more than bringing it up to?
And it might be a combination of both, but yes.
Okay.
The cheapest way to go is down.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fuel costs money. You don't have fuel on site, you gotta bring it in.
You think you could put a whole transfer trailer down?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure.
So, Commissioner?
it seems to me it'd be more efficient, well, it seems to me it'd be more efficient just to load it directly into the truck.
All right, let's go that
However,
way then.
I don't know,
They're still gonna have to,
So
they're
what's
still
the-
gonna have to do something with it.
you know, I don't know
Right.
what the compaction, I don't know what I don't know.
I don't know how far off it'll
Yeah.
be either.
Suggestion?
Sure. Yes, sir.
To overcome this obstacle is we put both options in a proposal and see what the dollars come back at.
Well, I'm not worried about that. I mean, Sam, is it much different for you from a design standpoint to bring us back, an option on that? Or, that's probably not, let's not
No,
complicate.
no,
Let's
no,
just do
yeah.
the transportation.
That's fine.
Let's just do the transfer trailers.
Yep.
That's fine.
That's fine.
Thank you, Mike.
Yep.
All right, so you've got everything that you want to hear, citizen center, traffic flow. You're gonna work with DEP to get permits. And the stormwater is going to be whether we can drive the road behind the transfer station or whether you're gonna have to loop it around, come on the same road here,
Yeah,
right?
that stormwater will have to be looked at, because
Okay.
we're adding additional impervious area, be it some of the roads, the expansion of the metal pad to accommodate the tires, and there'll be a little bit of an expansion right there at the old tire pad that will now become the citizens drop-off, so we'll have to account for that.
Okay. I think the traffic flow is gonna be probably one of the more important pieces of it,
Yes, sir.
so. Anyway, and so you think we'll have to you think we're gonna have to put a compactor there at the citizens when you go to pull those permits from DEP? If we do a transfer trailer? I think that, here's the problem, commissioners, it doesn't make any sense, is that you're allowed to drop that stuff off in a combined load on the transfer station floor.
Right.
But because it's open top, you're gonna take it to the transfer station, you're gonna take it to landfill.
Right.
You still have to put in a leachate management system under the citizens drop-off, right?
No.
No?
No,
Oh,
sir.
Okay, so that's the
Wait,
reason why then, right?
That's why we were asking to go to a compactor unit. And we know from experience that we get a much lower volume of Class 1 waste with these hand unloads. It's primarily Class 3 type
All right,
material.
well, they're not going
That's why
over
we're
the scale
thinking-
and through all that work
but-
if they don't have to, so they're gonna dump that at a convenience center.
If,
Right.
yeah, but then a lot of times you get people that just, for their own convenience, they're gonna throw a couple bags of garbage on top of cleaning out their backyard or doing a house clean out or whatever
Right.
kind of project that they're working on.
So you're gonna give them a compactor to drop those couple bags off first and then go to up there to drop off the rest of the Class 3 material?
That's correct, yes, sir. And then we overcome the issue about roofs and leachate collection.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, commissioners? We good to go?
Yep.
All right, thank you, Mike.
Thank you, commissioners.
Any other concerns, commissioners, in regard? All right, this meeting's adjourned.